Hey, well, this is not an amplifying mic in the room, but it is for the live stream. So just so you know, we are in a live stream. Um, so be forewarned. For coming, I appreciate you guys taking time out of VMworld and everything going on out there to come in here, because I know VMworld is an event with an enormous number of choices of things you could go do, and the fact that you'd come here and spend an hour and 15 minutes with us is fantastic. We'll try and actually do the best we can to get you out of here. Certainly no later than 4:45, because I think the hall crawl starts at 4:30, or is it 5? Does anybody know? But so we'll try and get you out of here quickly, so we can get going to the hall crawl. We've got basically 4 kind of general topics to hit in about 15-minute chunks. Start with an overview of the HPE VMware Alliance relationship. We'll open it up, talk a little bit about storage. We're going to talk about the HPE developers community, and then we'll talk a little bit about some consumption models that we have, especially looking at GreenLake. Before I get going, just looking around, is anybody here actually like into developing itself? Or is anybody a developer at all? I kind of imagine you'd be the one guy that would raise your hand here. So we'll definitely take that into account as we talk through that. And I guess where we'll start is I'll have Jeff introduce himself. Jeff is Jeff Carlett, been around here a long time. An unusual road to the job that he has of being the worldwide lead for the HPE relationship, the alliance relationship with VMware. What I think is odd is his background is actually a technology one. He's actually a technologist that's been around HPE for a long time working on technologies, and now he's the key guy managing the relationship with VMware. So Jeff, there's more than that about who you are. Feel free and fill it in, and let's talk about that relationship.
Super.
And what we'll do is, if you have questions, we'll have the speaker repeat them instead of trying to run the single mic around. So try and keep your questions concise so we can do that easily. I also have a room mic. You do?
Oh, you do have a room mic? Okay. So first, Calvin, thanks, and team. You said it right. I've been running around for like 22 years in the world of kind of Compaq and HP, with 19 of those years being on the core kind of product management side. And core to that time has been a lot of partnering with VMware, but partnering with others, Red Hat, SUSE, Microsoft, the list goes on and on. And the core DNA that I grew up with in the world of Compaq, ProLiant and stuff, and our management platform was partnering isn't about just putting things together in a box and shipping them out. It has to start with an engineering roadmap. Mark Potter, our CTO, taught me this, that it really comes from truly integrating with a defined joint roadmap, defined joint investments. And I did get to participate and lead our product management side as HPE OneView came out, and the management integrations we had were critical to that and continue to be critical to OneView and OneSphere and other products as you move forward. But after that 19 years, through a variety of, the first hyper-converged systems, the first, working partnership with our storage brethren, I decided to make the move into the go-to-market and partnership side, because increasingly I found that having the best widget, the most integrated widget alone isn't going to get it. We have to have solid alignment through the entire value chain, with incentives for people to care about trying to sell it, incentives for our partners to understand the value proposition. And my year and a half, 2 years that I've had here now, just picked up the VMware Alliance, but I get to work with other partners, even some sort of competitive, Citrix and Docker and Veeam and others. From an alliance standpoint, I really hold highly our partnership with VMware. It's over 18 years now, and since day one, when Brandon Sweeney was walking in our doors trying to swing a bat at building, creating a resale agreement, we struck it off, and we had commonality, if you will, in the world of kind of the wave of virtualization and mirror consolidation, in the world of software-defined everything. Now, I think we've embarked on an even greater opportunity as we see vCloud Foundation and software-defined networking, storage, compute, all coming together in a package, and it's a perfect complement to our innovation, specifically around composable infrastructure, HPE OneView with the core engine of that in between. So our relationship, I think, is stronger than ever. I've often been confronted with, yeah, but aren't they getting a little bit close to Dell? I mean, you know, what's your stance there? And yes, I call it, we have pockets of resistance internally, and mainly it's those that don't really understand that what we are doing with VMware is so much bigger than that. Matter of fact, VMware is doing everything possible to remain open, if you will, to the partner ecosystem, because look at the population of the installed base is majority. Number one partner is HPE, built from those 17-year foundation we had, starting with Contract for Reliant. So doing everything possible to partner with us, and we are embarking on strategic initiatives that span not only core data center, but also into hybrid cloud. We've got core initiatives focused around workplace or workspace, VDI, client virtualization, whatever you want to call it. And we're increasing as a company, as we pivot towards the edge, the intelligent edge, we see opportunities in partnering there, as we right now, our portfolio is the only VMware certified product set that's actually running at the edge. So I'm very bullish, and yes, I just picked up VMware, but I've been working with VMware now for 18 years, now in my 22-year stint here. So the story there for you all is the reason, we're doing this with a common objective in mind, and it's our customers. It's how we add value to our customers, make their IT operations more efficient, give them the flexibility of reaping the benefits that this so-called hybrid cloud world can deliver, and that's what we're all about. So happy to open it up for any questions here. Okay, all right. Yeah, but I'll hang here just a couple more minutes.
This is a group that's never shy, so don't hesitate to ask questions. So I'm going to actually start with Patrick Osborne. Patrick is the Vice President and GM in storage, specifically responsible for data protection and big data. Big data is it just big data? Just it's huge. It's really huge. Is it huge? Is it huge or is it huge? It's huge data. Okay, there you go. So and there's been a lot of talk about cloud here today, or actually yesterday more so. I guess I didn't actually see the keynotes this morning, but I guess the keynotes yesterday were definitely a lot of cloud focus. One of the things that I am kind of thinking about as I think about cloud, and I think cloud started becoming a conversation 7 or 8 years ago, and it seemed like a lot of people were taking a disk array and they were putting cloud in front of the name of their disk array and trying to make it sound like something they just did with a disk array that's on premises that doesn't connect to anything is a cloud. And now it's real, right? I mean, I know a lot of you guys are customers. Some of you guys are consultants. How many of you guys are actually actively looking at using cloud as an end usage? Okay, I can imagine yep. The thing that as I think about this, and I think this is where HPE is, and as we think about cloud, and this is not a tagline, it's not a mantra, but it's certainly the way I think about it, is instead of thinking about cloud is, everything cloud, it really should be about cloud done right. And so what I want to do is kick it off with Patrick. I've got Phil Gilbert here as well, who's from the 3-part team that could add to the discussion to talk about just what is storage doing to connect to cloud and help customers on their journey to cloud done right. And then we'll open it up for questions.
Cloud done right. Is that the new tagline, Calvin? I like that. I like that. Yeah, so you guys are fairly familiar with some of the technology we have in the portfolio, but we're trying to enable our customers with a couple different use cases that fall under the terminology of cloud or hybrid IT. We have an overarching strategy in storage and in data management. So we feel that platforms and technology like InfoSight, right, will be a view and a conduit into workload placement and data placement, right? So being able to use some of the predictive analytics and actually proactive engines that we've just introduced into the product this year to be able to place workloads on the right place. Could be on-prem, could be off-prem, depending on a set of performance, availability, and cost metrics. So InfoSight, in that is an actual service that is provided to a customer in a SaaS format. So some people consider SaaS and cloud to be very synonymous from a user experience. So we're going to continue to do that for our customers, to have a separated data plane and a management plane, right? One that you can connect, obviously, on premises with storage and data management that sits in your data center, or could be off-prem in the cloud. But then having a management experience that ties that all together. That's actually a SaaS offering that can do a lot of things like learning, global learning, certainly all the analytics around support and a better experience around the product. So we're going to be extending that. We also provide actually storage and data as a service in an actual cloud service. So if you've seen HPE Cloud Volumes, so we actually have a very high performance, elastic, durable storage service that you can purchase in the same way you would get elastic block storage, for example, from Amazon, and have the ability to have that in a data center that you have provenance over, and then be able to apply compute and functions that run in the public cloud to that storage, right? So you can take things like a virtual machine or a Lambda function, or there's a number of different things you can apply, but essentially being able to provide a durable, high performance storage service that you can then apply compute attributes from the public cloud. So that's HPE Cloud Volumes. Today we provide that for block storage, and then in the future we'll provide that for other things. So we've had a number of customers said, I want to put my data lake in something like an HPE Cloud Volume, and then apply compute to that in an elastic manner from the public cloud. Gives you the ability to burst up, burst down, flex, all those cool things. And then lastly, being able to do the actual life cycling of the data. What happens is a lot of customers are asking for very low latency, high performance storage, running mission critical applications that are not going to be lifted and shifted to the cloud, running on-prem. But then secondary storage, and certainly tertiary storage, could be an option of running some of it on premises for the ability to do very fast restore and running secondary workloads for test and dev. But then being able to store that out in things like Amazon S3 and Glacier or Azure Blob Storage for a very long period of time. It's deduplicated, compressed, it's encrypted, but it's available to bring back, and we manage the life cycle of that. So for us, cloud has a lot of different meanings, and we have a number of different use cases that we'll provide for customers that will be, as a strategy, managed through a service like a SaaS service like InfoSight, and extended across multiple workloads, and being able to intelligently place data where customers want it, essentially. So that's some of the things that we have right now in the portfolio, and some directional things that we're going to be providing customers as we move forward. Questions? And if anyone wants to go see some of these things in action, Cloud Volumes is demoed in the HPE booth right now, and you can also see Cloud Bank in action as well too. That gives us the ability to go from either 3PAR Nimble to secondary storage on StoreOnce out to public cloud storage, either Azure Blob Storage or Amazon S3. So a couple of those technologies are available out there, and then you can see some of the things we're doing with InfoSight on Nimble, InfoSight on 3PAR. Those are all demoed in the booth right now, and we have some designs for InfoSight running on other platforms as the year progresses. So you'll see some pretty cool innovation there.
Timeline for that?
There is a timeline for that.
Could you elaborate?
So the question is, what's the timeline for InfoSight capabilities on SimpliVity? So it's an active project that's being run right now, and I can't give it a specific date, but it'll be pretty soon. And then also, what's that? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be we're going to release it in Julember. That's That's my engineers always tell me. And so if you think about the constructs of SimpliVity, right? It's SimpliVity is a data virtualization technology at its heart in some degrees. It's built on a lot of the same offerings that we have in the rest of the portfolio, utilizing things like we have collectors, we use certainly ILO, a number of the features on compute that could be recycled and used for other workloads. More, think about InfoSight managing things like converged systems, plugging into Synergy, right? So a lot of that work is very derivative. So there's a lot of projects going on right now to extend that farther up into the stack. I think the magic, you guys have seen from InfoSight, is the correlation function as you go farther up the stack into the hypervisor, into certainly from the storage layer, compute, the hypervisor, the applications, and then above, right, from an active management layer. So we'll be doing more of that as well too. Okay. Yes. Same. Yeah. And then we'll be, we're expanding the service. More availability in terms of geos and zones, right? It's available in, and then certainly talking to other customers around what are the next set of use cases, right? We provide it for essentially the main use cases that customers like it for is around DR, right? So being able to DR to that service and then spin up workloads in the cloud pretty quickly. And then the second piece is around CI/CD, so continuous delivery, test dev. But then there's from a business model, actually, it's really interesting for other workloads as well. Big data, secondary storage. Great. Well, if there's no other questions, I will. I do know Eric. Yeah, me too, since he's one of the rock stars in our organization. Yeah, exactly. Eric Siebert was super famous. He has an amazing following in the VMware community. What's your plug for your website? Yes, vSphereLand.com. And Eric will be able to cover any and all HPE integrations, especially on the storage side. I know we talked about, earlier in the week about SRM and vVols and, a lot of things on that. Yeah, plugins. So if you guys have any questions on plugins, integrations, VRO, VCops, we got it all, right? I will stop talking now. Difficult. Challenges.
No VMware integration questions?
No, this is the only VMware integration question I had. I asked at Discover. VMware didn't have an answer because I wanted to know what Synergy and the VMware is going to get together. Because the vSAN doesn't have the info, the DevOps portion of it to program the vSAN at that layer down low. And if you could do that, compete with the VCF, if you standardize your SKU and your drive placements, and you can query that within the API, you can have a VCF type deployment competitive 100%.
You know anything about that? Well, that'd be the server plugin, not really necessarily
The server plugin, but then we get from storage, make sure it's all consistent, right?
Right, to be seen. So I think on the server, and the guy that talked in the booth is Doug DeWord.
He's at the 1V station there, and I think they do have plans to do a lot more extrapolation of data and presenting it out in the upcoming releases.
Day 0, just to get it up.
Okay.
They didn't have an answer at Discover. vSAN didn't.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure on that part. That'd be on the server side, so I don't really have any visibility to what's going on there. So.
Synergy. So.
With vSAN.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's no.
VCF and vSAN available.
Right, they don't start storage on it.
Okay. Is there any other questions that aren't about storage that we can't answer? Otherwise, I think you got a customer meeting you're going to, right?
I can stick around for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So, talking about secondary, tertiary storage, what's the vision? What's the plan of where you feel like 3PAR is compared to the Nimble now that Nimble is in your portfolio? I mean, Is one going to be more targeted towards enterprise, one SMB, or what's the strategy there?
Hold on. Hold that thought. Wait for it.
Yeah, so there's we've gone through a monumental amount of exercises on positioning. Right at the end of the day, they're two fantastic platforms, and they have different attributes from performance, failover times, various data services. 3PAR's got sync rep. Nimble doesn't have that quite yet. Scalability. So at the end of the day, we have a set of customers that need different things. So if you think about, I hate to use the terms I think you talk like enterprise and mid range or high end versus general purpose. Those names have a lot of baggage in the industry. So we've been essentially helping to do positioning around workloads and outcomes. Both we're investing a ton in both platforms. Right, we'll have working on next generation 3PAR platforms, next generation Nimble platforms. Certainly what we've seen is a big cross-pollination of providing, for example, VM Vision and InfoSight on 3PAR has been pretty fantastic. I don't know if you have any some of the details on that, like what we've done around Yellow Box and
yeah, absolutely. So I can give you a far more biased view if you like. So I'm a 3PAR product manager. So I'll give you a quick idea of who the hell I am. I'm Phil Gilbert. I sit in the 3PAR product management team, and I'm responsible for all the software that sits on 3PAR. So I do have an incredibly biased view, but I'll keep that to myself for now. You can come and see me at the booth, and I'll share that with you to my heart's content. So we've done a lot of work in terms of integrating 3PAR into InfoSight. And one of the things that we're striving to get to is not just InfoSight capability on 3PAR, because that's a big step to adding analytics that we've never had access to before. So we've already done what we call global visibility, which is the ability to have a single portal through which you can see Nimble, you can see 3PAR. We worked on what used to be called VM Vision, which has now been very nattily renamed to, what's it called now? Cross-stack analytics, rolls off the tongue. So we've looked at adding a lot of the existing functionality into 3PAR. Now, there are other things we can do as well, because while you can see the two together from an analytics perspective, they're still managed as two completely different products. They're still the way that you engage with us in terms of managing them, in terms of upgrading them, it's all completely different at the moment. So you probably don't know, so 3PAR product management have moved for the time being into the same site as Nimble. So we actually share buildings with the Nimble storage guys. So as you can imagine, that brings together the teams in a way that's never happened before. So that means that when we start looking at next generation of technologies, whether that's manageability, whether that's the actual platform themselves, what resources can we share? What can we leverage between the two platforms? It's the same thing from everything from qualifying drives through to management strategies, through InfoSight capabilities. What kind of things can we actually provide the same? And how can we bring the platforms closer together so that you buy the right platform depending on your needs, but it's not a choice between Nimble and 3PAR, it's all about buying the right product for the right thing, but the management experience should be exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter which one you buy the right one for the right job, and then you manage them all together. So that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
With data services that certainly work together, right? For example, like why you would buy any other hybrid array in the market right now besides Nimble, right? It's a fantastic system in terms of price performance, always on inline deduplication and compression. We have the store more guarantee. It has a ton of fantastic integrations with ISVs like Veeam, for example. So if you want to run secondary workloads, for example, that's a system of choice, right? Managed in the same way as you'd have your primary storage with 3PAR, for example, given the ability to do data services like DR and copying data back and forth, data placement. So for us, like you said, they're two different tools in the toolbox. They both have different attributes, both getting similar amount of investment levels within from an R&D perspective right now.
And Phil got the initial part of the question was to talk about what's the InfoSight integration. And I think you talked about it a little bit. But if you ever really want to learn more about what we're doing with 3PAR and InfoSight, talk to me, because my son-in-law is actually working on the Peak team, which is the team doing the digital signatures that will get auto discovered and things. So I have an inside track on the 3-part InfoSight team. So any more storage questions before? Let me let you do.
Just simplicity on Synergy. Is that coming? It's not out yet, is it?
Yeah.
Simplicity on Synergy was the question. That's not out yet. From what I understand from a Simplicity roadmap, we've been deploying them on ProLiant and Apollo, class servers for now. There is roadmap to have that available in a software format running on Synergy. So I don't know the timelines, but it's been discussed. I think for a lot of customers, bringing the Simplicity platform onto some different options from a pizza box rack scale server perspective with different media options has been the first thing that we've done, and then a number of upgrades around node count, scalability, performance, data services has been sort of the focus of the Simplicity team as of right now.
And I'll just throw out one more thing. We actually have our HPE Nimble Storage team that has come in. So if you've got any specific Nimble questions, that's the 2 guys that just walked in. It's Jeff and Barath. So if you've got a specific Nimble question that you want to ask, we're down to your last chance for storage questions. Anybody? Okay. Okay, so next up is then talking about the dev community. Your one developer has left because he had to go to a meeting. So I think what we really want to focus on is we'll talk about what we're doing with the dev community. It's a developers.hpe.com is kind of what the value is and what we see that becoming is kind of rolled out. I think about 6 months ago we started pushing that out. So go ahead and tell everybody who you are and your role and tell us about the dev community.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Pramod. I'm a software developer. So we launched the HPE developer portal last December. So we had like around 40,000 views already, and average user spends like 2 minutes on our portal researching about API stuff around HPE products. So if you are a developer or if you are an administrator, if you want to automate your stuff, one thing you do is like you search for API documentation. This is the place where you come in and get the information. So go to developer.hpe.com and you have the projects and platform section in here where you have the OneView, Simplicity, 3-part, Nimble, everything in here. So if you want to integrate or you want to know about the language binding that OneView has or Simplicity has, come here and get the information. So apart from getting the information, there is also a tab for community. So you can come in here and you can contribute. For example, we have a project, internal project, which is open source for everyone. Even Netflix uses Grommet today. Even all HPE products like UI products like OneView or OneSphere, it's based on Grommet. It's a UI, like UI technology. So if you see here, like, after we open source Grommet, we have like 105 contributors to this open source program. So this shows the power of open source and developers, So because of everyone's help, we are making good progress, and we are able to deliver open Grommet 2.0 version out to the folks. And also, like, we have a Slack channel for Grommet where you can post your comments. It's not specific to one project or one platform. If you go to developer.hpe.com, you have a little sign up at the bottom where you can put in your email address so that every month you will get a newsletter about the new HPE products we have or new integrations we have. For example, we have a new product, hybrid cloud management solution, OneSphere, right now we have integrations with ServiceNow, we have integration with Python, we have integration with PowerShell and all. In future, we are, like going for integration with Terraform and, like so many other tools. So if you want to know what we are doing, just stay in the loop. We're going to send out monthly newsletter, and you'll get the information that you need. If you want to really like get some technical information on blogs that we have, go to the blog section. We have like around 70 blogs already available to everyone. You can go, and if you are a OneView customer, if you are a 3PAR customer, if you are a Simplicity customer, go there and read these blog articles. And if you have any questions, just go and sign up. There's a Slack channel available, and you can post your questions there. If you have any questions, just let me know. Tell to your developers that go and sign up, developer.hpe.com. This is the place there needs to be.
So if users have interesting scripts or applications, how can they interact with HPE Dev in order to get them distributed to the community?
Good question.
So if you have any, as I told you, there is a section for community page. Here the page is getting loaded, but it will load eventually. So if you have any contribution, like Katrina, she is part of she's part of Hudson Alpha. She has written bunch of automation scripts on Synergy. She posted all those links in here, so you can sign up for our developer portal. You'll get all the information you need in that email. How can you reach us? If you have any scripts, you can reach to us. We'll reach to the corresponding team, and we'll hook you up, and we'll make sure that you are part of the Slack channel. You can discuss, and you can post your stuff on here.
So one comment about this community, there's another, like a general users community on HPE.com. That's the community.hpe.com website. That's where a lot of users go to ask questions. I don't know if you guys use that when you have issues. You probably, you guys have a lot of expertise in an account team you can turn to. But if there's also this other community, that's where our blogs are. The reason they actually started a separate community is because that community wasn't really set up to handle developers and sharing code. So that's kind of the reason that there's two communities on HPE.com. There's developers.hpe.com and there's communities.hpe.com. And they're all kind of connected to each other, but the reason there's a separate community here is to be able to really support the developers' needs that a regular support one can't really handle that well. So anything else on that? Okay, so we're down to the last topic. We'll get you out to the hall crawl here pretty quickly. And Marcelo is going to talk to us a little bit about the different options that we have in terms of how you can get your storage or get your infrastructure in a way that's way more cost effective than maybe some of the other things that you've thought about in the past. So,
thank you. So my name is Marcello Ballara, and I lead the team, the product management team for the GreenLake Flexible Capacity Consumption offer, on-premises offer primarily that we've developed. So how many people have heard of GreenLake Flexible Capacity? Okay, cool. So almost half the room. So if you guys already have any questions or any particular aspect you guys want me to focus in on, please, feel free. That's where the value is going to be. But otherwise, I'll give you just a general grounding for everyone. So we really started this service about 8 years ago. It was mostly a small pilot we started in the Netherlands as an infrastructure as a service play. Service providers loved it. At one point, 50% of our customers were providers in some of these smaller countries in Europe. And then a couple of years later, we decided this has a lot of promise. We're going to really scale this globally. That's when I was hired actually to help do that. I've been working on consumption offers in HP for 18 years. I worked on management services before we actually split off on the printing side. And so we had a lot of experience to bring to this market pretty quickly. So what we are now trying to take advantage of course, is the big push to public cloud is really resetting the expectations that customers have for their on-premises environment and our ability actually to be able to scale and provide flexibility on premises. It's taken for granted in the public cloud that you'd be able to manage the right mix of what is on premises versus in the public cloud, but even what's on premises is expected to be far more nimble. So the first aspect of that, of course, is the consumption itself, being competitive, eliminating the cost up front of all your CapEx investment. So only paying for what you use, same experience as the cloud. The second big element is really eliminating procurement cycles. So once on premises, you're able to identify the actual need for additional capacity. On average, takes more than 3 months to actually get new capacity on the floor and up and running. By then, oftentimes, you've hit capacity limits, performance issues, worst case, downtime issues. With flexible capacity, you get a services agreement, and we do a capacity planning. We acquired a company, Cloud Cruiser, you guys may have heard of, that helped us to do all the metering and analytics associated with that. And so we have a lot of alerts and meters installed that can help us to know when you're getting close to your limits on capacity so we can expand it. Plus, we meet with you guys on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, whatever is appropriate, to discuss your ongoing capacity planning needs. So obviously, if there's new projects, new apps, new integrations, new products that are being planned, those aren't going to show up in anybody's analytics. They're just on your roadmap. But we can plan ahead of demand for that kind of capacity as well and bring on new capacity to your floor. Now, just because we bring on new capacity doesn't mean you pay anything more. All of that equipment is at HPE's risk until you actually utilize it. So again, same exact economics as the public cloud. If you use it, you pay for it. When you stop using it, you stop paying for it as well, even though it's dedicated single tenant on your premises. So let me stop there first of all and see if there's any questions there before we kind of launch into the next realm. Yes, that is with all the storage and compute and networking and software and services that HPE puts out. So you design whatever your mix is. You remain in control, right, of everything on premise, of course. You need to because you're responsible for the apps and the data, the performance, the compliance, GDPR, making that fun these days. So yes, you get to pick your own platform. And we've now included Nimble too. That's more recent, one of our more recent introductions. Okay. So obviously, again, as part of managing that mix, you not only need to think about what's going to be on your public cloud versus your on-premises environment, but you also need to think about how you're going to make your on-premises environment more flexible and more nimble. So think about it from an industry or a company standpoint. If you're an online retailer, pretty much you're going to have certain spikes. Your seasonality is pretty well mapped. Back to school and Christmas and so forth. You may not know the size of the spike you're going to get that year, how popular your particular promotions and so far are, but you can plan around that particular seasonality. If you're Wall Street, you're going to have huge spikes, but you have no idea when you're going to get them, how many you're going to get them, how frequently you're going to get them. So obviously you need to plan and have a lot more capacity, extra capacity available at any point in time to meet those, capacity needs. And the beauty of flexible capacity is no matter what your industry is, no matter what your right mix is, we can bring in the right amount of equipment to help you meet that. And again, you're only paying for what you use at any particular given time. Now, if your pattern is well established and you have very little need for flexibility, obviously that's going to be cheaper. If you have 90% need for flexibility, obviously that's going to be a little bit more expensive. But obviously Wall Street can afford to have a lot more flexibility because their cost of downtime is significantly higher than an online retailer's potentially. So we can design the solution around whatever your particular needs are for your on-premises environment.
Microphone.
Passing the mic. Thanks.
So how does software licensing work in this type of scenario where you have 20 VMware hosts that you have on-prem right now, and you may spike up to need 26? So do we have to buy those licenses through you? Do we go through our reseller? And when we get done with those 6 licenses, how does that work out?
Great question. So the licenses, especially the OEM licenses like VMware that we make available through our existing equipment, are all included as part of your variable payment. So for instance, when you pay for a container or a virtual machine, whatever method you prefer, that price is fully loaded with your hardware, with your software licenses and support, and with your services, all the elements of services that you have structured around that environment. So when you're varying up and down and you're paying for more or fewer virtual machines, that's priced in. Now, there are third-party ISV licenses that we can include the actual license itself in the solution based on the scoping that we have, because we'll do a scoping of your particular environment. We'll establish a max. If we go above that max, as we expand it, we'll bring on additional licenses. That we will do. The support is usually still separate in that type of a scenario. We do. Usually within a broader backup kind of strategy, tends to work better. You spread the cost more, but yes, we can do DR, absolutely. Okay. I'll keep going. Just one other really big element. Again, it's, customers said, that's fantastic. You can give me that pay-per-use consumption pricing, and it varies on my premises, and I love that. And you haven't messed with any of the control that I have. I get to pick the hardware. I get to pick my configuration, and I maintain security and everything else. But I really would love to have more help in having that flexibility that you get in the public cloud in terms of how quickly you can get up and running. But sometimes I want to get up and running that quickly with an on-premises environment. So what can you do for me there? So what we've done is we have prepackaged a number of different solutions with 3PAR, Synergy, SimpliVity, all of the major product lines that we can really drop on your floor very quickly. And we can get up and running very quickly, and then establish, of course, all the metering capacity planning, and over time scale and size that to your appropriate need. So we can drop that very quickly. On the flip side, we have created some complete as-a-service full stack solutions for HANA and for backup and for big data, etc., that we can come and drop not only the infrastructure, but the software and the licenses and the advisory and professional services. We can bring in adaptive management services, which means we can run it for you. If you don't even have the expertise in-house yet to drive that particular application, not only will we drop everything on site, but we'll even run it until you guys can decide whether you want to bring on the expertise, train people, hire people, or have us, continue to have us manage that on an ongoing basis. So we're trying to make those more quick, more adaptive for the particular environment. But frankly, the bulk of the business is still, let's come in, let's look at your environment, let's see what your current run rate needs are, and we'll bring in that amount of capacity, determine what variability you need, and we'll lock in on that. Provide you an extra buffer on top of that. Again, no extra cost to you. Just make sure you have enough room for growth based on your current growth plans, so you don't worry about running out of capacity. So all that, plus the fact that we remove the over-provisioning that's generally done in a CapEx environment. We worked with Cloud 451 Research, and in a CapEx motion, in computing, 59% of the solution brought in on day one is over-provisioning. 41% is the actual run rate of the equipment you're going to be using on day one. For storage, it was 48%. So only 52% is what you actually are using with a 48% over-provision environment. That's a huge amount of cost that is aging, not being utilized. You're paying for services on that you're not getting any value out of. So of course we eliminate that, and so right up front, not only do you eliminate the upfront payment, but you eliminate 25 to 30% of the overall cost of that solution over 3 to 4 years, because that cost just goes away. It never comes back. We only bring on additional capacity when you need it. We're metering, we're doing capacity planning with you. We know when you're about to run out of capacity or when you're hitting critical limits, and we're having that conversation. Because it's a services agreement, again, we can bring in new capacity in 2 weeks. So there's no PO cycle, procurement cycle, approvals required, and 3 months to get new capacity onto the floor.
Model work? How does the billing model work?
So the question is, how does the billing model work? So there's a number of different billing models. So depending on the technology you choose or the combination of technologies that you choose, the primary one is per server, on-off, per day. You can have it per core. You can have it per CPU. You can have it per VM, per container, whatever makes sense in your particular environment. We have a lot of capabilities we've developed to enable all of those. And again, each of those are completely fully loaded, the hardware with the software, with the services element. So that's the only component that varies. There's no additional line items you're going to see in your bill.
Microphone.
Yes, the question is talking about performance and how capacity ultimately impacts that, you know, how many IOs you might have available and so forth. And that's where we can design to whatever your particular performance needs are, right? So if you want to bring on additional capacity when your array hits, 65%, we price to that, and we know that that's sort of the maximum that we're going to hit. So we can customize it to whatever your particular needs are.
Microphone, please.
It really helps us do.
I can't hear anything.
Just a live stream. Thank you.
Just performance versus capacity. So what if you spin up some new database? You don't need more capacity, but maybe you need more performance. How does that factor in at all?
So we can work with you again to tune whatever your particular configuration is as it changes it. It's when we bring on additional capacity, we can, in the same way we can bring on additional capacity, we can tweak the particular configuration that we have in place. Obviously, it will impact your pricing for that particular setup capacity, whether, again, it's an array or synergy environment or whatever it is. It's pre-priced up front based on whatever we decide you want to deploy, but we can change that at any time through a simple change order.
So going on with that, so let's say you have 10 or 20 nodes in your synergy frame, right? You have to go to that 21st node. Is that on us to purchase, or is that just built into the cost there that the rest of those aren't going to, you're not going to take on that chassis or that frame cost? If that makes sense.
Yes. So, pardon me if I'm not familiar too much with the synergy, but at some point you hit a particular milestone where you need to bring in an additional frame, in essence. So that cost is built into the flexible capacity. So in essence, we are generally not bringing in a frame that's going to remain empty. Over the life of a contract, 3 to 4 year contract, they grow about 18% per year on average, which means your solution that you deploy on day one is going to double over 3 or 4 years, which is why the company loves this model and they're investing so much in it. And it's very little sales effort in essence. So dropping an additional frame to continue to expand the solution is something we will absorb from an HPE standpoint. Of course, you're going to pay for it over time within your utilization, but there won't be any incremental cost because we drop more infrastructure. And in the case, again, of, say you have 20 blades or 20 terabytes, whatever it is, if your need is 20 terabytes, you're going to have 24 terabytes already installed. you can just start using that, and we meter that, and increase your billing, and then refresh with an additional 10%.
Anything else? Hey, so thanks for that, and then thanks for the questions that you guys gave. If you didn't notice, it got really loud in the last minute and 30 seconds. That means the hall crawl has started. So I don't want to keep you guys from that. So really definitely appreciate you spending some time with us. And one last thing I'll make a comment on. For those of you that do blog and might look at yourself as an influencer, we actually have another community for bloggers. It's called our VIP community. And basically that's a way where you can get briefings from HPE. There's a separate community site where we will share things with our influencer community. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll get invited to Discover, but that's often where we use to bring bloggers to our events like Discover, or we do one-off events like we're going to be doing a storage tech day in Anaheim at Nth Generation here at the middle of October, and we'll draw from people who we know that are influencers that are interested in HPE technology, and we'll bring those to that. So if that's something you're interested in, either let me know, let Laura know, who can help get you connected into that community and get you more information about that and see if it's something you're interested in. So other than that, thanks for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you more out tonight. How many of you guys going to the Veeam party? That's the ultimate party. It's the good one to be.